Viewer discretion is advised. Chapter 1 continued. Fallout 2068. South America. As we pick up where we last left off, we come back to a familiar place, Cartago, Costa Rica. And on a familiar abandoned stretch of highway, Trevor and Beck are engaged in conversation. This is the starting point, Trevor stated. Beck looked down at Trevor's hand to see a gas mask, then looked back up at him. Next 45 miles? She questioned. Trevor answered by distributing gas masks to everyone in the vehicle as he made an announcement. Come on, everyone. Next 45 miles. Red zone. They all put their masks on as they slowed down to traverse the once occupied military barricade with radiation warning signs set up across the highway, now dressed up in graffiti and bullet holes, compliments of the local amateur gangs. A long, dark, and desolate highway lay ahead of them. Trevor was toying with a large radio device, trying to pick up a signal. As he changed it from channel to channel, it was just static. How far do we have left to go? Beck asked as she looked over at Trevor. About 3 or so hours. Once we reach Dominical, Seth's friend will meet us at the boat. Seth was the one driving the rig behind them. You tired? Would you like me to drive for a bit? No, she said with a smile. I'm the older sibling. I get to drive. They both chuckled. Just then, something began to come over the radio. Trevor swiped it off the dashboard and turned it up. This is it, he said. It's that recording again. Caleb, Delilah, hand me a pen, he shouted to the kids as he rifled through the glove box to pull out a notebook. He got ready to write down the information coming across the radio. The voice was slightly robotic sounding with a bit of an English accent. The reception was not perfectly clear, but discernible nonetheless. Repeating transmission. This is Zool. All networks back online. Properties are secure. Safe harbor has been acquired. Access code 719AKQ641GSY. All local grids have been restored. Rendezvous 0.54814005 and 75.5128858. Temporary access expiring 8/10/2068. The radio went back to static as Trevor went over the numbers that were already written down from prior dictations. All the numbers are right, Trevor noted to Beck. Can you imagine electricity? Running water? Beck smiled as she responded. I'm gonna take the world's longest hot shower. But how do we know this isn't some sort of trap? Trevor took a moment to think. We don't. We'll have to check it out as we get closer. He paused for a brief moment and looked back at the older man sleeping in the back. maybe send Jack in to spy on the place. He should be able to get some good intel before, but his thought quickly ended there. "Ouch!" he exclaimed as Beck threw a stern older sister punch. "Leave Gramps alone." Then a slight change in her facial expression as she struck a bit more serious and quiet tone. "What about this Paco guy? You think we can trust him?" Trevor turned around in his seat and looked at the dark silhouette following them. "Seth's friend? I trust Seth. This Paco guy has a boat, and Seth seems to trust him. I'm willing to roll the dice." "You got a feeling?" Beck just shrugged. "No, I don't think so." She turned and glanced at the kids. Then to Trevor. "We just need to be careful." Dominical Beach was beautiful at night. Although vacant of venues, a boardwalk, or even crowds of people, it seemed to emanate a sense of nightlife. The Costa Rican forest met the sand with a seamless density, appearing almost out of place. The waves were calm as they washed up on the shores, as the headlights of their vehicles lit up the sandy ground. They all parked close together in a semicircle, with the headlights facing the ocean. They all stepped out of their vehicles and took in their surroundings while shaking off the long drive. "There she is," Seth said as he pointed to the approaching 3-level yacht. Sunset, right on time. There was a long wooden dock about 20 yards in front of them that stretched out into the sea. The 10 of them began to walk towards the dock. The yacht was making its final approach, as they could hear the water being disturbed from underneath the engines, reversing their force to decrease the vessel's speed. They climbed the staircase to the docks and watched as the ship made port. Just then, they were met with halting voices from behind them. "Stop there! No more walk," a man said in a thick Hispanic accent. They all put their hands up and turned around. They were met at gunpoint by 2 men. "What are you doing here?" a third man asked, as he appeared from behind the first 2 and walked between them, right up to Seth and Trevor. With their hands still up, Seth attempted to defuse the situation. "We're meeting some friends," he stated, as he signaled with a hitchhiker-like thumb to the now docked boat behind them. The group noticed a few more men with flashlights going through their cars. Trevor rolled his eyes. In the excitement, he forgot. Always guard the supplies. And for Christ's sake, never leave your weapon. "Those, my friends. That, my boat. You, not invited," the newcomer stated. "Calm down, Solo," a voice beckoned from the boat. Seth breathed a sigh of relief. It was clearly his friend Paco. Evidently, Paco had more guests than he thought. The 3 men searching the cars looked up and joined the group on the dock. Paco emerged from the boat and briskly walked down the dock with 4 of his men following behind him, carrying assault rifles at their sides. "This is my family," Paco exclaimed as he put a hand on both Trevor and Seth's shoulders. The 2 men, once targeting the 10, now eased their guns. The 6 newcomers stood, facing Trevor's group. Their leader spoke up again. "No permission, Paco. This, my boat. I'm in charge. No room for more," he said as he turned to his men. "Go take supplies from truck." Trevor lunged forward, but the men drew their guns on him, again causing him to back up and put his hands back in the air. Solo, calm down. This was the plan. We need them, remember? Paco winked at Solo and Solo grinned. "For sale?" Paco looked at Salo. For sale, Salo. Trevor and Beck looked at each other in utter panic and sheer disbelief. How could this be? How did Seth have it so wrong? How did he not see this? And why, for God's sake, did they leave their guns? Were they about to be caged and sold off to the highest bidder for supplies? Trevor tapped Seth with his foot and whispered, "What the fuck, Seth?" Paco walked in between the group towards Saulo, cueing the two armed men to again lower their weapons. Paco was shorter than the rest. He carried with him a who the hell cares and permanent vacation persona. He married that with a suitable Bahamas-style wardrobe. A little on the heavy side, this man kept a confidence about him that was mesmerizing to people engaging him. Being Hispanic, he spoke English very well, while almost seeming to emphasize his thick Latino accent. He embraced Saulo and gave him a kiss on the cheek. Then while he had his arm around Saulo's shoulders, he looked at his 4 men that escorted him off the boat. "Hombres, show Saulo the gift we have come with, for his wonderful hospitality he so kindly bestowed upon us." With that, all 4 men raised their assault rifles and began firing. Trevor's group, caught off guard, flinched and put their hands to their ears. Beck could feel blood dripping down her face as she watched the 6 men who once had guns pointed at her and her group get impaled with bullets through their heads and torsos. The now out-of-place, ragtag group looked on in horror, easily losing track of the crisscrossing flesh and blood, painting the open spaces between them all. When the firing stopped, she couldn't help her dropped jaw as she turned and looked at Trevor, who was also covered in blood and maintained a similar expression. Their eyes kept drifting to the 6, now unrecognizable figures laying before them, mangled in bloody disarray. They slowly turned and looked at Paco. He had the biggest smile spread over his face. With his arms high in the air, suggesting a celebratory hug, he walked up to the pair and embraced them and then stood back while still firmly clutching their shoulders and smiling. Then, a quick question swept across the gangster's lips. "How was your drive?"